Now, as I say, intelligence reports indicate the Syrian air base almost completely destroyed after U.S. strike. Reports Fox News. Keep in mind, this is a very targeted attack. So I know people say there should be declarations of war and this sort of thing, but it's a very targeted attack. And under the War Powers Act, it's perfectly legal. I have issues with the War Powers Act. There are questions of its constitutionality. But look, Donald Trump has been president for less than 100 days. He inherited the situation in Syria. He inherited Russia's presence in Syria. He inherited the War Powers Act. He inherited the world as it is. As it is. Apparently 24 members of Congress who are supposed to be notified were notified. The Russians were told right before the attack that the attack was going to occur. They might want to get the hell out of the way. So everything was done by the book. Everything was done by the book. He's not a cowboy. What he did here really was important. And he's going to have to work on, and I'm sure he knows this, on changing the psychology of America right now, given 8 years of Barack Obama and the kind of syndrome that created. Now, Vladimir Putin is furious, you see. He's had his way. He is furious now. And he calls the U.S. airstrikes an illegal act of aggression. And he suspends a deal to avoid mid-air clashes with American jet fighters over Syria. Here, in fact, is what his people say. Daily Mail. Go.
Военнослужащих США и других стран на территории Сирии без согласия на то правительства этой страны или решения Совета Безопасности ООН является грубым, явным и ничем не обоснованным нарушением международного права. Если раньше это объяснялось задачей борьбы с терроризмом, то сейчас налицо явный акт агрессии против суверенной Сирии.
Could have sworn she works for CNN. Anyway, but here's some of the background, what was taking place. Nikki Haley over at the UN, absolutely outstanding as an ambassador to the UN. The matter was being debated again in the Security Council, and guess who was objecting? Russia. And when Trump heard that, he ordered the strike. We don't have to sit around and wait for the Security Council where Russia can just block everything, which it's done 7 times before. He said, hit him. He not only said hit him, he was having dinner with the dictator from Red China. Now, I want to talk about this briefly. The liberals and the Democrats have criminalized this last election, where we have a counterintelligence investigation by the FBI going on since July against the Trump campaign. Now, maybe there were certain surrogates, long-time people working with the Russians over this, that, or the other. There has never been, and there is no evidence of any kind that Donald Trump worked with Vladimir Putin to win the presidential election. None. With all the leaks that have occurred by the prior administration, all the leaks that have come out of law enforcement, all the leaks that have come out of the intelligence agencies, not anything. Zero. The left has succeeded in creating this entire mindset. This entire mindset. Now, let me ask you a question. Listen to this. I think it's crucial. Do you think Vladimir Putin is happy right now that Donald Trump was elected president of the United States? With his mouthpiece there. Do you think Vladimir Putin is happy? Do you think Donald Trump is bought and paid for by the Russians based on what he did yesterday? Do you think he is? In other words, this entire lie, this entire myth has been propagated by the media, by the left, and even some government agencies. Does Donald Trump act like a man who's going to kowtow to Vladimir Putin? And does Vladimir Putin act like a man who has Donald Trump in his back pocket? Hell no. He had Barack Obama more in his back pocket, and Hillary Clinton too, didn't he? Do you think Vladimir Putin today wishes Donald Trump was president of the United States, or Hillary Clinton? Or Barack Obama, for that matter? We know the answer to this. Let me ask you another question. We've had Obama appointee judges in Maryland, in Hawaii, a liberal judge in Seattle, 3 circuit court judges on the Ninth Circuit, all of whom, in violation of Supreme Court precedent, in violation of separation of powers in the Constitution, have imposed their personal policy preferences to knock out Donald Trump's executive order to prevent people from coming into this country for a short period of time. Six countries, started with 7, 6 countries that are majority Muslim countries, not the majority of Muslims in the world, these countries, majority Muslim countries, because they're places like Syria, Libya, and so forth and so on, where their governments are either hostile or they do not have an effective means to provide us with information about the people trying to come here. We don't know if they're actual refugees or not. Now, these courts have said in so many words that Donald Trump is a racist, that Donald Trump wants to put this in place because he's anti-Muslim. Well, let me ask you a question. Who sent 59 Tomahawk missiles into that Syrian base? And why did he do it? Who was he protecting? President Donald Trump did that. He was protecting Muslims, human beings. Barack Obama didn't do that. Donald Trump did that. If he's everything everybody says on the left, then why would he even waste his time? Why would he even bother? Oh, Muslims killing Muslims, the hell with it. I don't give a damn. Sunni, Shia, that's none of my business. It's not what he did. He did what Barack Obama wouldn't do. He did what Hillary Clinton would never do. She was Secretary of State. He did what John Kerry would never do. He was Secretary of State. He was the Democrat presidential candidate, right? It took Trump to do it. Now, we don't know where this will lead. We don't know what will happen. I think we better muscle up our military. But I thought that a long time ago, and so did most of you. So we have the capacity to do whatever we need to do to protect us, to protect our allies, and yes, from time to time, to intervene, to protect innocent human beings when we are motivated by morality and faith and righteousness and God, to do what needs to be done to save our fellow man. Not everywhere. But just because we can't do it everywhere doesn't mean we do it nowhere. And that's a fact. And I want to say this to the President of the United States. I want to thank you. And I think we are very proud of you. The rest of the world now knows that we have a real commander-in-chief. Our allies are thrilled. Our enemies are nervous. That's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Under Obama, our enemies were thrilled and our allies were nervous. It appears that day is over. So at least from one conservative, let me say thank you, Mr. President.